senators had other hearings to attend to in the morning, but they wanted to be present for this particular topic. So this Committee on Public Services hearing on our SIM law is now called to order. Diretso agad tayo sa tanong na nakararami. Bakit patuloy pa rin ang dami ng mga text spams at scams kahit tapos na ang SIM registration deadline? Hindi pa dapat na deactivate na ang mga SIMs na ginamit sa mga ganitong modus. Kung rehistrado naman sila, hindi ba dapat natitrace na sila ng gobyerno o di kaya ay automatic na block sa algorithms ng mga telco? Napakaraming fake na naglipa na. Andyan pa rin ang fake jobs o yung trabahong may napakalaking sweldo, yung nanalo ka daw sa isang raffle na di mo naman sinalihan, link sa online betting sites na may nakakaenganyong mga premyo, meron ding mga nagpapaloan, mga nagpapanggap na text na tawag mula sa bangko, marami dyan, land bank, especially kami dito. Minsan, pati fake love na rin. SIMs have also been used by licensed POGOs to perpetrate text scams and love scams. Andyan ang raid sa Xinjiang Network noong nakaraang Hunyo sa Las Piñas kung saan halos 100,000 SIMs ang nakumpiska. Kasama na ang text blasters. Na-recover din sa mga basurahan sa SA Rivendell Gaming sa Pasay ang mga pre-registered SIMs na may kasamang cellphones at script pa for love scams. The pre-registered SIMs came with e-wallet accounts with 100,000 to 500,000 pesos, with at least 28,000 confiscated SIMs. The total runs in the billions. Amazing. These amounts were then funneled to a mobile phone which transferred the money to a digital platform abroad. Karamihan ng mga SIMs na ito ay hindi pa bukas pero pre-registered na. Hindi maipaliwanag ng mga telcos kung paano nangyari ito. Hindi kaya inside job. Paano at saan sila nakakuha ng ganitong karaming SIM? Mayroong bang black market ng pre-registered SIM? Gumawa tayo ng batas pero mukhang nagkukulang sa implementasyon. We want to know from our regulators, the National Telecommunications Commission, DICT, PNP, Anti-Cybercrime Group, NBI, ano ang plano para dito? Para matigil ito. Sa batas, obligasyon din ng Globe Smart at dito na maglatag ng user-friendly reporting mechanisms para sa fraudulent calls and texts. Pero marami pa rin sa ating mga kababayan ang hindi alam na dapat pala inere-report itong mga scams na ito. Many others do not want to go through the hassle of reporting. Hingan ka ba naman ng 2 valid ID bago makapag-report sa NTC at telcos? Maraming Pilipino ang wala pa ring ID. 2 pa kaya? Bakit mas pahirapan ang pagre-report habang mukhang mas madaling mag-register ng SIM? Obvious naman na ang mga text ay scam at spam. Hindi ba kaya ng mga telcos ma-detect ito? Ang nakakabahala pa, marami sa mga text scams ay alam ang pangalan ng end user. Where is the leakage coming from? We want to hear a status report from our telcos. Ilan na ang natanggap ninyong mga reklamo? Gaano katagal ang turnaround time? At mayroon bang naging feedback sa mga complainants? Has there been coordination with authorities in tracing these numbers? Now, with tracing comes prosecution. At hindi tayo pumayag na walang ngipin ang SIM Registration Act. In fact, we incorporated heavy penalties for offenses ranging from breach of confidentiality to submission of fictitious information during registration. Now with tracing comes prosecution. Gusto nating malaman mula sa DOJ kung mayroon na bang naihaing kaso laban dito sa mga manloloko. The POGO entities, for example, who were caught flagrantly violating the provisions of this act, have the corresponding charges been filed? Kung malikhain ang mga manloloko, dapat mas maging malikhain tayo. While we do not discount the warnings and notices sent by the agencies and telcos to the public, we must go above and beyond if we are to combat this plague in our telecom system. Walang maloloko kung walang manloloko na nakakapagrehistro. Tulungan dapat ang gobyerno at telcos na matugunan ang krisis na ito. Before I yield to my fellow senators who are joining us today, I would like to request the committee secretary to read out the names of our resource persons, and I would like to acknowledge the ever hardworking and diligent Senator Sherwin. Sherwin Gatchalian. Sasabihin ko sana majority leader. Sherwin Gatchalian. Thank you, sir, for your attendance this afternoon. Committee Secretary, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. To our resource persons, if your name is called, please raise your hand so our senators can identify where you are seated. Thank you. Good afternoon, Your Honors, and to all our guests. Allow me to introduce the resource persons present in today's public hearing. From the Department of Information and Communications Technology, we have Assistant Secretary for Legal Affairs, ASEC Renato A. Paraiso. He will be joined later by Undersecretary for Special Concerns, USEC Paul Mercado. From the National Telecommunications Commission, we have Commissioner Ella Blanca Lopez. Together with her is Deputy Commissioner John Paul Salvahan.
Iba na ngayon. Nanibago ko, wala si Lel. Okay.
From the Department of Trade and Industry, Concurrent Officer in Charge, Sales Promotion Division of the Fair Trade Enforcement Bureau, Attorney Joseph Manuel Pamitan.
Please raise your hand.
From the National Privacy Commission, Commissioner John Henry Naga. From the Department of Justice, Deputy State Prosecutor, Attorney Olivia La Rosa Torrevillas. From the Philippine National Police Anti-Cybercrime Group, Director, Police Brigadier General Sidney Hernia. From the National Bureau of Investigation, Chief of Cybercrime Division, Jeremy Lotok. From the Philippine Amusement and Gaming Corporation, we have Senior Vice President, Retired General Paul Villanueva, and he will be joined by Attorney Jessa Fernandez, Assistant Vice President of Offshore Gaming and Licensing Department. From Globe Telecom, we have Head of Policy Division, Corporate and Legal Services Group, Attorney Ariel Tubayan. From the Smart Communications, Inc., Vice President and Head of Regulatory Affairs, Attorney Roy Ibay. From Dito Telecommunity, Manager of Regulatory and Government Affairs, Attorney Nino Martin Cruz. We also have here a former NPC Commissioner, now working for Privacy and Security by Design, Mr. Raymond Liboro. Other guests will come in at a later time, Your Honor. That's all for now.
Thank you, Bea. Perhaps an opening statement from our colleague here, Senator Gatchalian.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, first of all, thank you very much for sponsoring this resolution, and it's really timely to have this hearing. We've seen in the last few months, there's a trend with the POGO operators here in the Philippines, wherein POGOs are being used as a front for different scams. I've heard of love scam, I've heard of crypto scam, I heard of many different scams being proliferated by the POGOs. And the device that they use in order to propagate these scams are SIM cards, particularly prepaid SIM cards. But more serious than that, Madam Chair, is also the inclusion or the proliferation of human trafficking as well. Obviously, these scams are being manned by humans, and these humans or these human beings are people coming from different parts of the globe being lured and attracted because of high-paying rewards. But in effect, the results are human trafficking being employed by these POGOs and these illegal activities. And the use of prepaid SIM cards, Madam Chair, is tied up to the recent human trafficking activities that we are seeing here in the Philippines. So it goes hand in hand, Madam Chair. So I think the first order of business is to really see how we can stop the use of illegal SIM cards, particularly prepaid SIM cards. Because of that, I can see that we can also reduce and stop the human trafficking activities happening here in our country. So again, Madam Chair, thank you very much for this timely hearing, and we'd like to hear from our resource persons how to stop these criminal activities from happening in our country. Thank you.
Thank you. I would like to, is there a statement from the NTC? Ma'am, any reports of progress or delinquency?
Yes, good afternoon, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, Honorable Senator Sherwin Gatchalian, and to everyone present at this meeting. Magandang hapon po. The law is to promote responsible use of the SIM and provide law enforcement agencies tools. At the same time, the law also protect consumers from illegal activities such as scams, smishing, and all other activities with the use of SIM. The SIM registration of all active SIMs ended last July 30, 2023. This includes the 5-day reactivation period, which the second deadline was set on July 25, 2023. So as of 3 September 2023, there are 118,908,469 registered SIMs. During the early phase of the SIM registration, ma'am, we noticed a decline in the text scam complaint received in our office. However, in the ensuing months, we again noticed a sharp increase of reported scams. And the scams can include those who just received the message, and some complaints are those that they have already provided money to the scammers. But most of the complaints received was that they just want these numbers to be blocked because they receive a scam. All the scams that you mentioned a while ago. As of date, ma'am, we have received a total of 45,697 complaints related to scams. The IRR, which the Memorandum Circular 001/12/2022, was drafted and issued in accordance with Republic Act 11934. The premise is that law-abiding citizens have properly registered their SIMs. However, there is also a portion of those who registered their SIMs that are using fraudulent IDs. As the law provided for 17 kinds or types of IDs that an individual user can use to register their SIM. However, even with the 17 kinds of IDs, we noticed that the law also provided for heavy penalties for using fake IDs. For example, ma'am, using fictitious identities. So it carries with the penalty 6 months to 2 years of imprisonment, or fine ranging from 100,000 to 300,000 or both. So may provision naman po ang batas na mapoprotektahan yung mga illegal po or yung mga fraudulent registrants by using fictitious identities or fake IDs. To address the concerns of the fake ID submission, the NTC convened last 29 August 2023 the technical working group, the same technical working group who was invited to the drafting of the IRR to discuss the post-registration validation mechanism. This post-registration validation mechanism was already agreed upon during the drafting of the IRR. So dito po sa issuance na ito na may issue po ng NTC, magkakaroon po ng guidelines kung paano po i-weed out or aalisin yung mga spurious registration. September 4 po ang submission to of the telcos or the parties to submit the proposals. Dito and Smart already submitted their proposal for the validation, post registration validation, and there is another meeting on September 7 po. The technical working group will be invited again to discuss the proposals. And so appropriate guidelines will be drafted po for that. Just for the information po, ang member po ng technical working group is of course NTC and the DICT family with the CICC, the NPC. Hello, sir. And we also invited the DOJ, the PNP, PNP-ACG, and members of the House of Representatives and the Senate, ma'am. We also invited to join. For our contra tech scam campaign, our regional offices have conducted radio and TV appearances po, especially sa regions, to inform the public against this tech scam and to warn them not to believe. So in 2022, ma'am, 1,762 appearances were conducted by regional offices. For 2023 as of date, meron pong 425 TV and radio interviews. Again po, to continuously warn the public against this tech scam. In the same way, we are also continuously sending text blast. Although alam ko po meron na pong iba na naiinis na rin sa paulit-ulit na text blast sa warning, but of course we continue to do that to remind the public po not to engage in the schemes. In some po, the NTC believes that the SIM registration is a good law. It actually eliminated an easy way for people to scam or defraud people. But as the government is trying to protect its consumers, the criminals are also updating their means and ways to commit a crime. That is why po we shall work together with all the other government agencies, with the legislators, with the Senate and the Congress. So dapat po constant and close coordination so we can combat this. That is all, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Blanca Lopez. Ms. Commissioner Lopez, it's very nice to finally have you in our hearing. It's quite refreshing to hear also somebody new from the NTC to present to us the situation. I'd like to acknowledge the presence of our majority leader, Senator Villanueva. Sabay pa kayo ni Senator Sherwin ngayon. Eh, no? Buti na lang, medyo malayo ng konti. Baka magkamalan. Before I... you have an opening statement, sir? But just in line with what you mentioned, Commissioner. Number one, paano ba talaga mag-report? Meron kayong hotline, di ba? Ano nga yung hotline ninyo?
It's hotline 1682, ma'am.
Okay, yung 1682, paano yan sa cellphone? Tinatawagan ba yon?
Tumatawag, yes, ma'am. Tawag po.
May sumasagot?
Meron po, yes, ma'am. 24/7 po, 3 shifts. 3
Okay.
shifts po siya na
So,
24/7.
Doon sa mga tawag sa 1682, meron na bang na-block? Na
Yes, ma'am.
mga
Yes, ma'am.
numbers?
We have that information po we can provide. Kasi po, from once may tumawag po, of course, ang ano din po kasi doon, ma'am, is that pwede rin kasing may prank caller. So we have to also have a verification from the complainant na talaga pong na-scam siya.
Hindi ba pwedeng i-text yung, kasi ganito, kunyari ako may natatanggap akong mga nanalo ka ng ganito, ganyan. You know, these are keywords that can sound alarm bells already. Hindi ba pwedeng i-forward ka agad yun sa inyo, ma-block ninyo? Kasi if you have in coordination with the DTI, malalaman ninyo kung legitimate na ano yun eh. Maybe DTI and you can have a code given to each of those legitimate promotions so that if it's sent to you, you'll know with the number given by DTI that it's actually a legitimate promotion. I mean, this is just moving forward. So maybe include the DTI in your meeting. So hindi pwedeng i-text. O, kunyari ako, may natanggap akong fake na, alam kong fake yon. Pwede ko bang i-forward sa 1682? Hindi.
Ma'am, it's call po, ma'am, currently.
Call.
Yes, ma'am.
O, sige.
Or email po, pwede rin. Email. Meron din kaming email address. Actually, ma'am, in our website, mag-pop up, merong complaints part. You can also click that and then may ways po how to report the complaint or
Okay.
to file the complaint.
Thank you. I will yield now the floor to our majority leader for his opening.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon po sa ating mga resource person, si Com Ella, na medyo kilala naman natin, Madam Chair. And of course, our colleague, Senator Sherwin, twin Gatchalian. Madam Chairperson and everyone here, good afternoon po. First of all, this will just be very short. Let me again thank our distinguished colleague, the birthday celebrant
Matagal na. 2 days.
post 2 days.
2 days na.
1 week daw yung
Ganun.
pakain mo, Madam eh. Ang chairperson ng Committee on
Lugi yan.
Public Services, our esteemed colleague Senator Grace po, for conducting this investigation on the proliferation of tech scams and the reported use of SIM cards in illegal POGO operations. First, yung yung tech scams, mismong ako nakakatanggap and mismong ako nag-file ako ng complaint. I'm just asking now the status about the complaint that I filed because I've been getting a lot of tech scams. I don't know, for some reason, they would think that I am Senator Sherwin Gatchalian and they are selling different products. The Senate President is here and so I will wind up. So, una yun. Pangalawa, Madam Chair, and I think it's a common knowledge that this representation has been very vocal about our stand on POGOs. And it's clear, crystal clear that we do not need them. The social costs of POGO operations far outweigh the minimal impact it has on our economy. The POGO sector accounts for only 0.03% of our gross domestic product from 2021 until August 2022, equivalent only to 4.2 billion. These numbers further diminished in view of the significant social costs and reputational risk brought about by the increase in POGO-related criminal activities. We can go on and on citing all these criminal activities. Mauubos yung oras natin, no? Nung nagsimula pa lang po tayo dito sa Senado, kami ni Senator Sherwin, tandaan ko sa Committee on Labor noon, yung nakuha natin yung pinakamadaming illegal alien dito sa bansa, dun sa Clark Air Base. At hanggang ngayon, problema pa rin ho, no? After 6 years. Ang POGO sector did not contribute to the creation of local jobs to Filipinos. In 2022 report from DOLE, it was revealed that out of the 34,245 persons employed in the industry, 17,509 are foreign workers. 16,000 daw po ngayon ang nagtatrabaho ng Pilipino pero hindi din nila ma-account. Yung OJEL nila, yung online gambling employment license, hindi pa rin mapatupad ng PAGCOR. Earlier this year, yung hearing ng Committee on Public Order and Dangerous Drugs, last January, it was revealed that there have been at least 316 victims of various nationalities in 102 POGO-related crimes, including kidnapping for ransom. Si Senator Grace one time delivered a privilege speech, personal and collective privilege, regarding this particular issue. Recently, more than 100,000 unregistered cards already used for illegal activities were seized by the authorities following the raid conducted at Xinchuang Network Technology Incorporated, a registered POGO hub in Las Piñas. Registered. Alam ng PAGCOR ito. And yet, wala din silang magawa. Hindi rin sila ready. Pero ayaw nilang aminin na dapat maghanda muna sila bago nila tuluyang bigyan ng lisensya itong mga ito. Questionable nga din yung jurisdiction nila in giving online licenses to these firms. No? Similarly, 28,000 SIM cards allegedly used for cyber scams were also found following the raid ng POGO SA Rivendell Global Gaming. I can go on and on, no? And more than anything, these findings only affirm our stance on why POGOs are not worth the cost, Madam Chair. So with this hearing, we are hopeful that our call to ban POGO operations in the country will finally be heard and realized. At tayo po ay nag-file din ng resolution SRN 225 in the Committee on Ways and Means chaired by our Senator colleague, Senator Win Gatchalian. And yung last hearing, January 23, 2023, hindi na rin po kami nagulat dun sa mga resulta na aming nakita. Maraming salamat uli, Madam Chair, and God bless our hearing today.
Thank you, Majority Leader Villanueva. I would like to acknowledge the presence of our Senate President, Senator Mig Zubiri, who will also give an opening statement.
Thank you very much. I don't see the DICT Secretary. Where is he here? I mean, is he in the country?
Mr. Chair, good afternoon, Mr. Chair, Senate President. Our secretary is with the president right now, or in Indonesia.
He's in Indonesia.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. To start with, Madam Chair, thank you for a good afternoon to everyone, and thank you for calling this hearing on the continued unregistered SIMs for text scams and the use of unregistered SIMs for text scams and illegal POGO operations and the enactment of the SIM after the enactment of the SIM Registration Act. Let me just say this from my heart rather than reading my prepared statement. Madam Chair, it was during my speech that we had asked your committee, the Public Services Committee, to look into the proliferation of so many scams that are still happening after the passage of the SIM Registration Act. We thought that the SIM Registration Act would be a big help in being able to stop and prevent the scams from happening. May I just ask you guys to be quiet, please? Also, it happened to me kasi ako, na-scam na rin ako pero hindi ako nagbayad, nahuli. Nahuli po namin yung nagsa-scam sa akin. They texted saying that they were governor of a province at kailangan nila ng tulong. Nung tumawag ako, hindi sumasagot, malabo daw yung signal dahil nasa barangay, the usual modus operandi. I wasn't born yesterday. So basically, we called the PNP, and the PNP CIDG helped me track down these guys. So much so, the usual modus operandi, Madam Chair, ipasa na lang sa GCash or sa Palawan eh. Hindi Palawan, 7-Eleven ba yan? May bagong pera padala. Saan yung parang pera padala. No, they were using a parang 7-Eleven, they were using a thrift store. 7-Eleven padala dun or sa GCash. So they gave me the GCash numbers. So we had the file of the GCash numbers. Obviously, when we checked with GCash, these were actually real accounts with GCash. But when we found out that the registered, they were unregistered SIM cards, which were basically prepaid, pushed us all here to be able to file the SIM Card Registration Act. So I'm not the only one. Marami kami dito, they tried to scam. Buti na lang I warned the senators because apparently pati si Senate President Soto at that time I was majority. Before I became the Senate President, I was majority leader. Senate President Soto was also to scam as well. And done because good investigative procedures done by both NBI and the CIDG. Kasi sinabi ko na lang, yung naibigay ko na yung pera sa driver ko, binola ko na lang, ito yung number ng driver ko, hindi nila alam, police na pala yung binigyan ko ng pondo, ng numero, and they were already discussing it with the police captain of the CIDG. And then, ano sila na to meet up na lang. Eventually, they agreed to meet up. That's their biggest mistake. And na-entrap ko sila. May mga baril padala ito. So there were cases of illegal possession of firearms. May drug case pa. So you're dealing with very dangerous people here, ladies and gentlemen. And this is a daily occurrence. Last week, my vice president for operations for my business, he was also na-hack yung kanyang Facebook account. And then hacking yung kanyang Facebook account, Messenger, all the messages pinadala na nitong scammer na to. Lahat ng Messenger friends ng VP ko for operations in my business. And they were just asking na kung pwede, medyo gipit ako, tulungan niyo ako, padala niyo ako ng 5,000. And you know what? When we collated all the amounts of the people that had actually replied, umabot din ng mga almost 100,000. May nagbigay ng 10, nagbigay ng marami, nagbigay ng 5. Because, they thought the guy was, appealing for assistance. I mean, it could be anyone of you that could happen to. Kaya ang hirap pala pag pati yung FB mo na-hack and then nakuha nila yung Facebook Messenger. So those are red flags also for social media sites. So it brings us back to this question. Why is it not working? Number one, Madam Chair. And what else can we do to make this scam stop? It has not stopped. I still get on a daily basis. Text ganito para panalo, ganito, ganyan. Kaya ano ba to? Wala ba tayong ginawang tama? At akala ko ito nang hakbang na gagawin natin para maano na natin ito. From the NTC, how are you, ma'am? Good to see you. And that's why it's very, very important that we do something to protect the public. And when my guy went to the cybercrime division no sa Cagayan de Oro, may 10 tao nakapila din. Ganun din. Na-scam din sila. Nawalan din sila ng 50,000. Nawalan din sila ng... Oh my gosh. Imagine, that's Cagayan de Oro. Paano dito sa Metro Manila? Paano sa ibang mga probinsya? Ganun din nangyayari. Government has to put a stop to this. We can't allow this to happen. These individuals, wala na akyat bahay. Ginagawa na nila. Scam na. Online scam na. Wala na. Ang gagaling na nito mga criminal syndicates na ito. Sindikato na to. So, that is my appeal to all of you here. SMART, Globe, DITO, all the other government agencies as well that are here, NTC, DICT, the DOJ, Privacy Commission. Can we come up once and for all with a measure, or if we have to amend the measure, to make sure that these people are placed behind bars, or at least, with all due respect to these telco companies, there should be heavy penalties given to the telco operators together with the platforms in social media, allowing these things to happen. Alam mo, it took almost a day or two for my staff to be able to get a response from Facebook to actually close his account. Kasi, syempre, he could not tap his Facebook account anymore. So, yung mga kaibigan niya, my wife included, nag-message sa Facebook, na na-hack yung account niya. Pero ang tagal before they got the response. And during that time when they were waiting, they were scamming already. May nagpapadala na sa GCash. So, my goodness. Parang we're so helpless, no, with all these hackers and scammers. So, Madam Chair, I'm here to listen. Ano ba pong kailangan natin gawin? At ano mga excuses nila na hindi gumagana itong ating SIM card registration, which you ably sponsored and authored. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. I'm sure we have a lot of questions and a lot of explanations. But I would like to ask, kasi yung pinakamaraming bulk talaga, yung na-raid na POGO hub sa Las Piñas. Di ba? Yun yung, at saka yung isa pa, may Sinwa, may kung ano-ano. Pwede ba natin malaman sa ewan ko, PNP or sa NBI, ano yung nakikita ninyo? Anong mga SIM cards yon? SIM ba yon ng Globe, Smart, foreign SIM cards ba yon? Ano ba yung report natin dyan?
Madam Chair, Your Honors, doon po sa Sinswang Network Technology na na-raid po ng PNP, more than 80,000 po yung mga SIM cards doon. At iba-ibang SIM cards po ito, from Smart, meron dito, meron Globe. So halo-halo po. Meron ding mga international SIM cards na na-recover po doon. At ito mga cards na na-recover namin are unregistered SIM cards. Because during the operation, hindi pa po deadline nung SIM registration. So lahat po ito unregistered pa.
So hindi pa naman nagagamit? Wala pang may-ari?
Karamihan po doon ay gamit na po, Madam Chair.
So because this was prior to the implementation of the law? Paano?
During the extension, Madam Chair,
Ha?
during the extension period ng SIM registration.
So extension period. So hindi pa na-deactivate?
We are
extension.
consolidating all this number.
Tapos na ba yung extent? Kailan niya nakuha yung SIM card?
That was June 27.
Wala pa. July yung...
July 26, I think was the
Okay.
deadline.
So, lahat ng cards nasira na.
Those
Nasaan na?
July 25.
After that, all the SIM cards that have not been registered are
Plus 5,
sufficient.
sir, plus 5 days reactivation. So July 30 po, dapat po deactivated yung lahat na hindi nag-register and yung mga ibibenta pa lang.
So yung nakita, just to be clear about this, they probably bought this prior to the implementation of the SIM registration law, and then it was within the period of the extended time that they could register. So in short, hindi pa nila nagagawa ito nung na-implementa na talaga yung batas. Okay. All right.
What about dun sa Las Piñas? Kasi this was in Las Piñas pala, no? Yung 80,000, yung Xinhuang. Yung sa Riven, 28,000 yun yung SIM cards. Ganun din ba ang case nila?
Sir, sa Ravendel, actually, as of August 24, we have 27,000 plus SIM cards bought from Globe Smart and Token TNT, sir. TM, sir, actually includes. Actually, ma'am, just to make a statement here, sa experience kasi namin, actually just last night, we tried to register, we bought a SIM card from different telcos, and we entered the face of an animal, actually, and different names. Natanggap pa rin, ma'am, actually. Ang issue kasi namin, aside from those prior sa implementation na meron ng mga fraudulent identities, in fact, as of the moment, nag-i-exist pa rin, pwede hong mag-register na kahit ibang identity ang gamit nyo. So, sa law enforcement side, medyo nahihirapan din kami mag-track kasi pag tinignan namin kung sino yung pangalan o owner ng SIM na yon, iba po yung lumalabas.
Let me backtrack a bit, Madam Chair, because dun sa 80,000 na nakuha, hindi pa fully implemented yung batas. Itong 27,000 na binabanggit nyo, August na po ito eh. Tapos na yung extension. Tama po ba?
Yes, sir.
Pero gumagana ba yung SIM?
Actually, mix ito, ma'am, may registered, may unregistered po yung SIMs. Ongoing pa po yung verification at processes nung
Pero August na to. So, by that time, dapat deadline na, dapat deactivated na yung hindi pa nare-register. So, activated pa rin yung iba.
Yes, ma'am.
Kasi naka-register.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Teka muna. Face of an animal, sabi mo.
Yes, ma'am.
So, anong ID ang gamit?
Actually, madaling kumuha ng ID, ma'am, sa online. Kahit anong government ID, pwede kang mag-drop doon. Then, lagyan mo lang ng picture. And then, i-try mo register. Napapasok po, ma'am, actually. Yes, last time sa team namin, nagkandak kami. Just to emphasize na meron pa rin flow sa registration.
Pakita mo sa amin yung
Yes, ma'am.
ginamit
Sabihin ko
ninyo,
po
ha?
yung video, ma'am, sa inyo.
O sige,
What
pwede ba ngayon?
What telco? Both?
Lahat.
Any?
Sabihin ko na, sir, sa...
They will use any?
Hindi, isang telco lang yung trinay niya. Ano?
Isang telco pa lang yung na-try yun. Na-try nyo lahat.
Actually, lahat ng telco, ma'am.
Lahat.
Imagine.
Thank you, Chief, for doing
Thank you,
this.
ma'am.
That's investigative work talaga. Alam ko kasi yung telco, gusto nila marami talaga silang subscribers. So they'll make it as easy as possible. This is really sad. Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Madam Chair, if I can
Ganun lang talaga eh.
pursue that
Pag-
question, but just basic questions to the NTC. I saw in the report that there are 118 million registered SIM cards. These are prepaid SIM cards.
Sir, both postpaid and prepaid.
How many of these are prepaid SIM cards?
Sir, let me check with our data, sir.
Probably
Okay.
mga
Konti lang po.
mga 90% or 95% prepaid eh.
Siguro po mga around 5 million lang po ang postpaid.
So about 113, no? I went to the Comelec website. There are about 73 million voters in our country. So meaning there are 43 million who are not adults who registered their prepaid SIM card. Ibig sabihin pati sanggol naka-register ng prepaid SIM card.
Sir, pag minor po, pwede pong parents ang mag-register.
But obviously, there are also multiple holders, correct?
Correct, sir.
Ilan po ang multiple holders? Or ilan ang, out of that 118, ilan doon ang registered specifically to a name? And how many of those are multiple
Sir,
prepaid holders,
okay,
prepaid
there-
card holders?
Opo, sir, yung registry po is with the telco, sir. So, sila po yung...
Don't you review all of this data?
No po, for confidentiality po kasi actually po yung information na nasa registry can only be provided if there is a subpoena or requirement from a competent authority.
Maybe not specific name, but at least man lang, for example, how many unique names are registered to this 118 million? So, and how many prepaid SIM cards are registered to a specific name, or conversely, how many are multiple prepaid SIM card holders? I don't really care about the name, just the statistics. So we'll know what's happening. But because, like for example, itong 28,000, sinabi ni Senator Joel, are these registered to 28,000 people?
Sir, we have no information po.
Yeah, that's why we're asking.
Correct,
If you're
sir, correct.
going to ask us, if you're going to answer back, you don't know, then we're not going to go anywhere. We're trying to get something out of this hearing.
We can ask po the telcos for those information, sir.
Yeah, but Madam Chair, maybe we can request the telcos to furnish us with those basic information so that we will have an idea how the prepaid. My point is, paano ginagamit yung prepaid SIM card natin? No? Are they being used for businesses? Are they used for personal use? Are they being used to do scams? So these are basic information that we need in order to come up with some form of idea.
Yes, sir. We will require the telcos to submit the information needed.
Yeah, just submit to the committee all those basic information. Thank you, Madam Chair.
The Senate President has another pressing meeting, so we will give the floor to him for his question.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Madam Chair. No, the Secretary of Defense is waiting for me upstairs. It's just that on the telco side, can you confirm that all the other unregistered SIM cards are now decommissioned and deactivated? For Dito, Smart, and Globe? Is Globe with us here? Okay. Yes, please go ahead.
All SIM cards that were not able to register on the deadline or during the reactivation period are now deactivated po.
Can we confirm it as well with Dito and Smart?
Yes, Mr. Senate President. All are decommissioned, Your Honor.
Good afternoon. Yeah, we confirm, Mr. Senate President, Madam Chair, that as of the deadline, we already deactivated all the unregistered SIMs. Thank you.
And have you been getting reports of continuous scams pa rin? I mean, do they get in touch with your companies, letting you know that these numbers had called and given us fake information? What would you do to be able to help? What have you been doing to be able to help them under this new regime of the SIM registration law?
Mr. Senate President, on behalf of SMART, we have been coordinating with the law enforcement agencies and the DOJ and the CICC in blocking and also helping out in their operations, no, to not only to block but also more importantly to apprehend all these scammers and syndicates, no, doing all these phishing activities. Also, likewise, we note that a lot of these activities have moved to the internet space in terms of using OTTs, or over-the-top services like Viber, WhatsApp, Messenger, as you already mentioned earlier. And this would probably require the intervention also of all these OTT operators, not only the telcos. Thank you.
But Viber, they will need a number for Viber, but they would need a line.
Yes, Mr. Senator, but our observation is that if you had a number that you were using and you did not register it, but even after the registration date, although you may not use the basic services of the cell phone operator, you can the service will still continue with the Viber, with the OTTs.
So even if the SIM is deactivated, they can still use the Viber?
Yes,
And
if
WhatsApp?
they have already registered their SIM with the OTT prior to the deadline, yes.
Aha. So that's how nakakalusot yung mga yan. What is OTT again for the
Over the top services, Mr. Senate President.
over the top services?
Yes, these are the Viber, the WhatsApp, the Telegram, the Messenger.
And these
Okay.
are these numbers, you don't have any clue who owns this kasi ano yan, mga prepaid. Na
Yes,
nag-register sa over the top service.
most likely, Mr. Senate President, Madam Chair, yes.
Okay, so if they registered it, but it's been deactivated, but they still need to have credit to be able to use that, so they'll use Wi-Fi.
Yes, they can
So
use Wi-Fi. They don't have to
anybody's
use the mobile
Wi-Fi.
data service. Yes, Madam Chair.
Ayun. So they'll
Yes.
use the Wi-Fi, let's say in an internet cafe, or
Yes.
so it's not going to be registered. So
Yes.
yeah, okay, now, yeah, that's how they get creative. Okay, wow.
But I'm curious, how many animal pictures did you get when they were registering? Because I'm sorry, but Madam Chair, baliwala tayo kung ganun din pala eh, ma-deactivate. Pero it's so easy to register na walang chine-check. I'm sorry, Madam Chair, because it's not their
I'll just continue if I may. My apologies. Do you have a report that you want to show us, attorney? Or I want to ask, in these recent scams that have been going to your office, scammed individuals or the victims of scams in your offices, are these the common case? Which means that you're using Viber, WhatsApp, Messenger, or they still use the line? Are there cases that they're still using the line?
Yes, sir. As a matter of fact, based on our record, from January to June alone, 50% of the cases filed before the investigation service fall within the cybercrime division. Last year po, the whole year from January to December 2022, para hong 200% nag-increase yung crime based on our record, Your Honor. And the usual mode ng commission is ito pong SMS text scam. Based on sa yung question, Your Honor, yes, involved po yung ESCs.
Yeah, this is prior to the SIM registration law. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to review
Yes, sir.
how the SIM registration law at least helped in some way curb that. So my question would be now from July 25 of
Okay.
this year, which is about a month ago or a month and a half ago.
Yes, sir.
Have there been cases filed with you in your office by victims who were scammed using regular lines pa rin na registered SIM cards?
Yes, sir. Actually, on the daily basis, we often receive 30 to 40 complaints walk-in yan, sir. At most of the cases involves ESPs, meaning electronic service provider like Viber, Twitter, LinkedIn. Yan po, sir. Actually, tumataas po siya, sir. Ang issue po namin, because of the rise of CAS, we call it cybercrime as a service, and then the phishing as a service, and then ransomware as a service, and the list goes on. Yung cyber attacks po has been democratized. Parang free na yon sa cyberspace natin. Kulang po talaga yung nagbabantay, sir. Kahit hindi ka ganun ka tech savvy, wala kang alam actually sa technology, as long as you are willing to pay, you can pay for services to launch an intrusion or even vulnerability assessment. Open po yan sa dark web, even sa deep web, Your Honors.
Yung GCash, Your Honor, Madam Chair. Because number one, ano nila is always GCash, no? Number one, or what are the other, Paymaya, GCash. Is that, I had a notion that the GCash was owned by Globe. Is that, it's not owned by Globe, right? Or you're part owners of GCash?
It's a subsidiary of Globe, partly because we're minority owners of GCash right now.
Yes, but you have a say, I guess, on the operations of GCash since you're a minority owner and
Yes,
it is being utilized by all these telcos.
yes.
Anong mga hakbang na ginawa nyo? What have you guys done to prevent the misuse of these GCash accounts? Because I guess SIM card, you have to all register, right? The GCash accounts, can you also require them, or Paymaya, can you also require them now to re-register to make sure that you have the correct identification number or whatever, IDs, including a correct registered SIM number? Because that way, number one hingi nila palagi deposit sa GCash eh. So kung NBI ka o PNP ka, pag binigay namin yung number sa GCash na binibigay nila as a scam, automatic GCash should be able under the law to be able, if it's a law enforcement agency that's asking for the information, you should be able to submit and find out and give the proper information kung sino to mga scammers na ito, di ba? That's the procedure.
Yes, Mr. President. Actually, it's what we've been doing together with the law enforcement agencies. There's a continuous coordination between GCash and NBI on the investigation of the scams.
Have you caught any? I mean, have you after the SIM card registration has passed, may mga nahuli ba kayo or sirado lang ng account?
Mostly sa amin kasi, I don't represent GCash at this hearing, but based on my knowledge, marami po, continuous pong ginagawa ng GCash, coordination ng GCash with NBI.
Yeah, I think, Madam Chair, no, with due respect, I mean, in fairness to Globe, Smart, and Dito, we have to invite, in the next hearing, if possible, we may have another hearing, GCash, PayMaya, all the, all the e-wallets na padala pera. Pati na rin, invite na rin natin yung Palawan. Invite na rin natin yung Palawan padala, yung Lulier, ano ba yan, yung padala, Lulier, all these padala remittance businesses, because we have to find a way to cut the source of funding, right? If you make it much more stricter in the delivery of the funds, baka ano din sila, this is a deterrent, no? It will deter them to commit the crime. Kasi para sa bangko, alam mo, wala nang sasabi na mag-deposit sa bank account. Wala na, kasi alam nila, pag mag-deposit ka sa bank account, huling-huli yan, because the bank is very strict when it comes to your details, not to your personal details. Nahuhuli yan. Wala nang nagsasabi, ay, deposit mo na lang sa account sa banko. Wala na. It's all now PayMaya, GCash, padala pera, Palawan, all that. So, I think we have to invite them in the next hearing and to finally get possible solutions on that side. I know there's a law. I know there's an anti-phishing law that the central bank wants us to. May bagong request ang central bank sa amin as a priority measure under the LEDAP.
Yes,
Will that help?
it will help, Mr. President. And actually, we're also supporting the bill that you filed, Mr. Senate President, the anti-mule bill that will greatly help.
That's when they use another name, right?
Yes,
They use
opo.
another person.
They're using another person.
Parang mule nga. Parang, so what they do is, Madam Chair, ito mga sindikato, they rent GCash accounts. So, kung sa kapitbahay nila, 5 sila may GCash account, o babayaran ko kayo ng rent, hiramin namin yan. So, para hindi sila mahuli, itong mga mayaring GCash na yan. So, okay, let's work together on that, attorney. So, maybe we can work also with the Viber. We'd like to ask also the Secretariat to invite those platforms, social media platforms. What is the exact over-the-top services? So, Viber, WhatsApp, yan, Messenger ng Facebook, Telegram. Pero yung pinaka-popular dyan, Viber. Yung mga Pinoy, hindi pa masyado silang sa WhatsApp at Telegram. But let's invite them all the same, no, so that we can get a commitment from them to maybe also have them re-registered, all these Viber accounts. If they're utilizing the account without a new registered SIM, or even an existing but registered SIM, dapat yan, warningan sila, deactivate so that this person can come up with a new Viber account. So with that said, Madam Chair, I thank everyone for coming today. That's very important. I'm a problem solver. We're all problem solvers here. So we need to come up with an enhancement of the law, I think, at this point in time. It seems that they're being very crafty. Ito mga sindikato na to, naging masyadong magaling na, masyadong tech-savvy. Alam mo naman sa Pilipinas, number 1 tayo sa mga gamers, number 1 din tayo sa hackers. So, unfortunately, may kausap ako na friendly intelligence agency, sabi nila, when there's a hacker that is caught here, they like to recruit them for these intelligence agencies. Ganun kagaling tayo mga Pilipino. Kaya, we have to be more crafty in terms of being able to protect the public. And this is, yeah, the bill that you mentioned is the Anti-Money Mule and Financial Fraud Act, which is Senate Bill number 2039. This is under the, which committee? Banks? Banks ba ito? Possibly banks and financial institutions. So we thank you for your support, guys. We need to work together as a team on this. We're not blaming anyone, but we need to work harder on this kasi kawawang taong bayan. Mahirap mang napektado dito. Mahirap. These are poor people with no, I guess, we thank the telcos for coming repeatedly every day. I get always from Globe, from Smart, from Dito in our phones, things to watch out for, advisories. Don't give your one-time pass. Do not give your data. Do not give your birthday. Do not give your. So we thank you for reminding the people, and that also the NTC. But of course, minsan hindi pinapansin ng masang Pilipino yan. At pag na-scam yung mga yan, nawala sa kanilang 5,000, malaking bagay yung 5,000 sa kanila. So maraming salamat, Madam Chair, and my dear colleagues, thank you for the time you've given me. I ask for my excuse, no, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you to our Senate President. Our Majority Leader has some follow-up
Yes,
reports.
Madam Chair. Thank you to the Senate President Zubiri. I will start by saying it is important to note, Madam Chair, that we call on these e-wallets, yung GCash and PayMaya et al. Because if you recall, Madam Chair, there was a discussion on this particular matter in the plenary, and this representation even mentioned, I think it was last Congress, that you can easily bet through GCash sa Isabong. And I remember doing that in 5 minutes. I was able to get in and I can already place bets, Madam Chair. We take notice of this particular instance, and in fairness to GCash, they immediately remove, Madam Chair, that mechanism. But again, it's important to note that we should revisit these franchises, Madam Chair, if they're doing something outside the franchise given to them. In my own hometown, Madam Chair, may mga ilan po tayong kababayan doon na nagbikti dahil sa kasamaan nitong Isabong. And praise God, dahil si President Duterte, President Marcos, finally made a sound and strong decision against Isabong. But anyway, Madam Chair, let me continue asking questions to our Chief Cybercrime Division ng NBI. Kasi Madam Chair, despite the fact that we are already implementing the law, if the telcos, sir, if the telcos will continue to entertain applications from any Tom, Dick, or Harry, and as you have said, did not come from me, it came from your report, that you tested all telcos. Kahit na animal picture yung papakita, tatanggapin. So, do you think this would help you in your police powers to implement the law, Your Honor?
Yes, Your Honor, sir. Actually, sa part namin, sa law enforcement perspective, it would be very difficult to track them down. And actually, yung processes pa namin sa telco, yung turnaround ng request. So, in terms of real time...
What do you mean turnaround of request? The long period of time?
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes, Your Honor. So,
I will go to that later because I myself filed the complaint. August 14. Until now, wala pa. August 14.
yes, Your Honor. Yeah, yan yung isa sa mga challenges namin. And at the same time, Your Honor, yung itong mga registered SIM card talaga, rampant yung sale nito, Your Honor, sa Facebook. Actually, ang daming Facebook page na nag-o-offer nito. At the same time, ang mga buyer nito, based sa experience namin, yung malalaking, yung POGO operators, and then dun sila kinokulate nila lahat and then ginagamit nila. Ang issue kasi namin, once na ginamit mo yung SIM, after makuha mo na yung objective mo, dinidiscard na yun, Your Honor. So, in terms of tracking, ang hirap na po namin hanapin. So in terms of actionable intel in real time, nahihirapan din po kami dahil doon.
And what do you recommend? And is there anything that we need to do na wala dun sa batas? Other than, of course, you were saying the span of time to respond. Ano yung mga nakikita nyo, sir?
Yes, Your Honor. Based on our experience kasi, ang mga issues kasi na pre-preserve namin yung data privacy. So, we need to justify muna why do we need this data for purposes of investigation. May ganun pong issue, Your Honor. And then, I think in so far as SIM Registration Act is concerned, since March to June, we were able to apprehend several sellers nitong mga fraudulent SIM cards. But then again, since medyo mababa yung kanyang penalty, so sabi ko nga dun sa interview, yes, Your Honor, paulit-ulit kahit araw-araw kami makahuli. Yun nga, isa sa issue kung bakit ginagrab nila yung opportunity na yan. Kasi sa poverty rin, Your Honor. So, kaya daw sila nagbibenta ng ganito.
Explain further, bakit attractive ito? Because mababa nga yung penalty, but the return,
Yes, Your Honor.
mas
actually.
malaki. Can you give an example, for instance?
Yeah, actually yung cases namin, may mga huli kami na nagbibenta siya ng 2,000 to 3,000 SIM cards. And then may kita siya doon na 40 to 50 pesos per SIM card. So medyo kung mahirap nga ang buhay mo, definitely kakagatin po nila yon.
And the
Tapos,
penalty if they get caught is,
I think 6 months, Your Honor.
6 months.
And then fine then under
fine is,
yun ba yun, ma'am? Yeah, I think 100 to 300,000, Your Honor.
Madam Chair, can I ask questions to telcos? Kasi ayan o, narinig niyo po ngayon yung Cybercrime Division ng NBI. Unang question po, baka pwedeng tingnan niyo po itong mga animal pictures na nakakuha ng na nakapagrehistro kasi mababaliwala po yung batas kung papayagan din po yun. And sure, we can play it if you please, Madam Chair. Sige po.
Yeah, the picture on the left, Your Honor, ano po yan, yung monkey po na, no?
Buti nga nakangiti po. Kasi kung hindi, baka hindi yung binagbigyan yan.
Kagabi lang yan, dinemo namin, ma'am.
Can I just say, according to my staff here who's been with the technical working group, for the information of our colleagues, dito is actually implementing the facial recognition together with the ID. But Globe and Smart resisted that it be included in the IRR. So I think we just have to tweak the IRR. Yes, Globe.
But Madam Chair, I'm really sorry. Madam Chair, if you're with the telcos and you see this application form of that monkey smiling at you, what the heck are you doing? I mean, it's common sense na hindi dapat pagbigyan to dahil hindi yun natin mahuhuli yung mga gumagawa ng kalokohan dito. I am ready to dare our telcos friends here. If you want, let's do it right now. Mag-file tayo ng application kung tatanggapin. Kasi kung tatanggapin, baliwala po lahat tayo dito, Madam Chair, if our telcos will not cooperate.
Yeah. Yes, good afternoon, Madam Chairperson, honorable senators. Tama po yun. Medyo siguro lumulusot nga po yun, ano? Mga features. Kasi nga po, isa sa nga precisely that's the reason why before when the bill was being deliberated on, we asked to have access to government ID issuers. Para ito query system lang po na sana valid ba tong ID na to o hindi. Yun po malaking usapin kasi noon. And then isa pa hiling namin sana kung napatupad na fully yung national ID system. Mas madali po yun kasi may biometrics. So yun po talaga ang makapagpigil niyan. So sa ngayon, pero yan, dahil fully
Sir, pero unggoy yung nasa picture eh.
na hindi po namin nakikita yon kasi diretso po sa system. So, yan ay magiging...
So you think your system is working?
it is working, pero...
It is working with that
will-
kind of applications?
Yeah, Mr. Senator, kaya nga po magkakaroon ng panibagong...
I'm sorry, Madam Chair. Your solution is to pass national ID and it be implemented fully.
That's actually the best practice.
You don't admit that you had a terrible system. I mean, you can see monkey smiling at you and bibigyan mo ng...
As I mentioned, Mr. Senator, we cannot see it because it's a fully automated system. But that's the best practice in all countries that have implemented SIM registration. They have slotted first the national ID before they went into SIM registration.
If you're not admitting that this is working, this is not working well,
Mr. Senator,
nakakahiya po sa taong bayan.
Mr. Senator, I fully admit that SIM registration, actually, I'm very optimistic that this will work. Precisely, the SIM Registration Act provided for a penalty if you provide false or inaccurate information. Doon po mahuhuli yan. So, yan po ang susunod na step. Together with the NTC, magkakaroon po ng post-validation process. So, yun po ang sagot po namin dyan.
Attorney Tubayan, ganito po yung pagkakaintindi ko doon sa sinabi ninyo. That's why you resisted during the crafting of the IRR was because the government wouldn't give you access to the list of the legitimate card holders, di ba? Doon sa mga iba't ibang government agencies na merong ID. Am I correct?
Madam Chairperson, I think it's inaccurate that we resisted. Siguro, there were concerns that were put forward, pero eventually po, meron po kaming validation process. Meron pong selfie. Kung sino nagre-register, nagsa-selfie po yan. Tapos meron pong government ID dapat supposedly na i-represent.
So may selfie.
Opo.
So yung selfie ng monkey.
Palagay ko, kung yun ang ginamit nila.
Anyway,
Yes.
ganito lang po. What I'm trying to say is because, well, as you said, maybe it was misinterpreted. You didn't really push for not including that biometrics or live facial recognition. It's actually looking like what we have now is not really sufficient. So we will have to go back to the drawing board and probably with the cooperation of the NTC, ma'am, maybe we can amend the IRR, no?
Yes, ma'am. With with the results of the investigation now and yung challenges sa implementation, we can go back po. And specifically now, since we are doing na rin naman po the post registration validation, then we will include po all those other things that needs to be addressed.
Sige, ma'am. Actually, attorney, what you're saying about the national ID would really help a lot of problems in our country. In fact, that's why we're always calling for a hearing. PSA, nasa na yung national ID na yan. But in the meantime, and also, it's good to be redundant. Even when we have that ID in place, at least we also have this other safeguard, which is another layer. I'm not saying all of us here are playing catch up with technology. So the blame is not all lodged on one particular group. But of course, we have to keep updating. And it's frustrating. Yun nga, it's adding insult to injury. Pag nakita mo, nakangiti pa talaga yung monkey, di ba? Pero, but I would like to commend our NBI chief, Lotok, for making an effort to demonstrate to us that it's really a problem. Because if we don't see something like this, we wouldn't know the extent of how easy it is to actually fraudulently register. That's all.
Madam Chair, can I continue asking questions? Let me ask the other telco company. Do you have the same know your customer procedures? Yes, sir, please.
Yeah, good afternoon po. For dito, since we have implemented the three features no of the SRA. So first is the IDOCR that basically replicates no the data or information that you can see in the ID to the into the data fields no of the SRA. The second is the face liveliness where the SRA platform recognizes or finds traces of biometrics.
Which means hindi lulusot sa inyo yung nakangiting monkey.
Supposedly, sir,
Yeah.
supposedly.
Thank you for that.
And also, sir, there's the face matching where we face the IDs no to the selfies.
Okay.
So,
Just for kasi magse-session ho kami. Sa isa pang telco company, Smart ba nandito? Do you have also the same feature na itong mas maayos na know your customer procedure?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, Senator Villanueva. Yes, Smart had processes in place to verify submitted information and data. Smart also employed an optical character recognition technology, not only to help Smart verify submitted information and data, but also to protect and secure its subscribers.
So meron po.
Meron din
You
po.
don't just accept mere uploading like in the monkey example.
Actually, meron din po kasi mga technical glitches. The reason why I think during the IRR that we wanted basically to perfect this optical character recognition technology to be placed in. I think the problem with technology is that it is not simply a plug-and-play solution sometimes. Sometimes you have to undergo a beta stage. And that is what we fear, that with the oncoming deadline or of the SIM registration, and they were rushing us to include that technology in the IRR when in fact it was absent in the law itself. We opted that if we do implement this technology, that it would be flawless and it would be ideal in terms of being able to implement it accurately. And I guess by nature of technology, sometimes there are glitches. Maybe there were instances where iba yung animal yung nasa picture, tapos animal din yung picture na sinabit for selfie because we accept pictures as selfies eh. Hindi lang yung selfie as selfie.
Why can both of you, Globe and Smart, do the same thing nung ginagawa nung dito?
That's yun nga po. We also employed optical character recognition, but I think there are some cases where
Even if you apply the same thing, the same problem will
sometimes with
what?
technology.
If that's the case, I mean, you won't find a monkey application form.
That's what we're investigating rin po right now, no? Kung meron din po talagang mga nakapasok din po sa system namin or kung meron man
But you
po
also agree that if the platform of these major telecommunication companies would have a stricter or more effective system, matutulungan niyo po itong cyber.
Definitely.
Thank you. So that's Madam.
Tingnan natin si Attorney Loto kung di ba sabi mo nag-try kayo sa lahat ng telco with an animal upload?
Yes, ma'am.
O so pati yung dito na tinanggap?
I-forward ko na lang yung video, ma'am, later.
Oh,
Lahat, ma'am.
okay.
Yes, Madam Chair, thank you. I was listening intently earlier. I want to ask, I think it's a PNP cybercrime yata, no? Si Attorney Lotok. You mentioned earlier that these crimes are also evolving, Attorney. They're also changing their ways, changing their
Yes, constantly.
their
Opo.
their strategy. What changes have you seen lately? What are the trends that have you seen? I heard earlier that you said they're selling registered SIM cards. No? So that's another.
Yes, Your Honor.
That's a consequence of registering your SIM card. Now it became a tradable commodity. No? So aside from that, what other trends are you seeing lately?
Yes, Your Honor. Actually, just last night, sa Facebook, may mga pages na actually nag-o-offer ng SIM card for sale. May mga nakuha kami. Submit po namin mamaya sa inyo. As of the moment, ang shifting po ng cyber attacks is more on as a service. Let's say yung CAS or yung cybercrime as a service, it's a kind of business model for organized online crime.
What do you mean as a service? What do you mean by
Um,
that?
For example, meron ho akong target, Your Honor, then gusto kong i-intrude yung system niya. And then pupunta lang po ako sa online, and then maghahanap ako na nag-offer ng services na yan na may capability to intrude the system. And then with a fee, pwede ko po siyang bayaran. Yung iba naman po, it's either commission basis o naghahati sila kapag nakuha nila yung objective nila dun sa kanilang targets. So rampant po ito actually, Your Honor. Yung SMS text scam, meron hong nag-offer din ng service na ganun.
Here in the Philippines? These are
Meron po,
operating
Your
here
Honor,
in the
yes.
Philippines or abroad?
Dito rin sa Philippines, actually, ang usually yung mga local hackers natin, yung mga capability nila is from foreign capabilities. Kasi sharing po yan, Your Honor, sa mga group chats eh. May mga, for example, sa dark web, which is open ngayon, sineshare po yung mga script o yung mga code for intrusion. And then may mga grupo rin tayo ng mga local hackers, tinatry nila sa mga agencies natin, local or public. So sa monitoring namin, since ang Cybercrime Division is nagmo-monitor 24/7, marami na ho kaming list ng mga breach na system natin, both government and private entities. And actually, nagkaroon ho kami ng meeting just this morning with NPC, and then nag-craft ho kami ng program kung paano namin i-address yung issues na yan. At okay naman po yung napag-usapan namin. Next week, mag-start na po kami, launch namin yung program na yon para ma-address ho yung, somehow ma-lessen yung cyber attacks na incidents dito sa Pilipinas, Your Honor.
But Attorney, the whole basic objective of this law is if we register the SIM cards, there's accountability, meaning we can go after the registered person.
Yes, Your Honor.
That's the basic objective, no? Because nga, the anonymity is creating a lot of problems.
Yes,
So, but you mentioned earlier that now that these registered SIM cards can be sold.
Yes, Your Honor, as per ano, based doon
Is that allowed or illegal?
Actually, it's illegal, Your Honor. As I have said a while ago, since March to June, July, we've been conducting entrapment operations, and we were able to arrest several individuals who were selling fraudulent SIM cards.
I know they can sell bank accounts, they can sell
Yeah.
prepaid SIM card, hindi na nga prepaid, registered SIM cards.
Yes, Your Honor. Actually, meron din kasi tayong mga owner ng accounts na willing din silang ibenta yung kanilang accounts for a fee.
And then you have apprehended these individuals.
Yes, Your Honor. Some of them, Your Honor.
And then are the penalties deterring people from going into this type of
Yeah, Your Honor.
modus?
Actually, we were able to file cybercrime charges against them. We were able to prosecute them. But then again, since available naman siya, Your Honor, so wala na rin sila sa bilangguan.
Okay. Alright. Thank you. Oo nga, yeah. So that's maybe we need to increase the penalties or make it hefty. Another question to NTC, is there a post-validation of accounts? Because I understand the logic why you can get your prepaid, you can get your SIM cards easy and fast because you got red tape and there's a sense of urgency. But there should be some form of post-validation if it's not automatic. Yung monkey example is really bastusan na talaga eh, no? At least man there's some form of post-validation, and who's accountable to that post-validation? Kasi we cannot allow horses, monkeys, gorillas to be registered. I mean, that's not gonna be, diba? But we have to do something. If we're not gonna do anything, then this will happen over and over again. No? So I want to ask NTC, is there any regulation that the telco should do post-validation to see whether the registrant is a bona fide person or is a valid, the ID being used is valid?
Yes, sir. In the IRR po, in Section 6E, there's a provision that the PTE shall be enjoined to include processes to verify the submitted information and data subject to applicable provisions of the Data Privacy Act and other relevant issuance of the NPC.
So it's the PTE's responsibility to check
Yes,
whether
sir.
the monkey is alive or dead.
Correct, sir.
Obviously, the monkey is still here.
Madam Chair, and with the indulgence of my esteemed colleague, my twin brother in the Senate, Section 6 of the measure that or the law that we passed, actually ako po yung nag-introduce ng amendment na ito, if our chair would recall. Sabi po dito ng Section 6, last paragraph, PTEs, Public Telecommunications Entity, shall provide user-friendly reporting mechanisms for their respective end users and the latter's receipt of any potentially fraudulent text or call, and shall, upon due investigation, deactivate either temporarily or permanently the SIM used for the fraudulent text or call. Inaccept po yan ng ating Madam Chair, Chairperson of this committee, naging part ng batas ito. That's why in last August 14, Madam Chair, when I experienced this fraudulent and some unscrupulous people trying to hook me up and victimize this representation, we filed a complaint, Madam Chair. Tinest ko yung mismong amendment ko doon sa batas, Madam Chair. Kunyari, isa-isahin ko po NTC, kunyari po, I emailed contratexcam@ntc.gov.ph. I don't know how many numbers have you blocked, but I'd be interested to find out how many. But again, we filed the complaint August 14, Madam Chair. Hanggang ngayon po, walang action taken. It's been 3 weeks, Madam Chair. Sa NTC, no reply, 3 weeks. Acknowledgement receipt lang yung nakuha natin. And so we called the hotline. Yung hotline po, pwede nyo nating subukan din ngayon, Madam Chair. Ang sabi ho sa amin, mag-email na lang. Mag-email na lang. May hotline po. Punta tayo sa ibang telcos. Sorry, wala akong dito. Meron akong Smart tsaka Globe. Smart. Sabi po nung Smart, alam nyo, sir, dapat ipakita nyo muna that you are a verified user before you can file a complaint. Globe. Ang nakuha po namin sa Globe, ito. Your report was successfully submitted. Last almost 3 weeks na din po. Nakalagay lang po, they will act on it. But I don't know what's gonna happen, Madam Chair. Ang point ko lang, Madam Chair, is that when we passed this law, we wanted to ensure that there's a provision on user-friendly reporting. But unfortunately, kung tayo nga nabibiktima, how much more yung mga maliliit nating kababayan. So I hope, Madam Chair, we do something about this. Ano ba yung problema? We wanted to help wala kaming gustong i-single out any entity, even telcos, especially yung mga kasamahan natin sa gobyerno. What funds do you need? How much do you need in order for you to be more effective? We're ready to help. I mean, nandito na kanina, Senate President, yung leadership, si Senator Grace, Senator Win, both vice chairpersons of the Senate Committee on Finance. So whatever you need, we are here to help. Kaya lang, pagka yung binabanggit ni Senator Sherwin kanina, makikita natin, unggoy na nakangiti sa atin, niloloko tayo. Napakasakit Parang yung nabalitaan natin, Madam Chair, di ba yung sa LTO, yung isang bulag na basta na lang nakakuha ng lisensya para mag-drive na without undergoing anything. Parang ganun din yung nakita natin dito. So, it pains me a lot na ito, ginawa natin yung trabaho natin. Now, we're doing our job now as and trying to function our yung oversight function ng ating institusyon. Ito na ngayon yung ginagawa po natin. Again, we wanted to help. Please help us help you and help our country, our countrymen and people. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Before, I would like to hear actually what the Scam Watch Pilipinas has to say, because we're going to be perhaps amending the IRR. to compel telcos to help their clients in case that there are complaints. Do you have anything to add, Mr. Samaniego?
So, tandaan lang natin na pag nahack tayo para tayo na biktima ng COVID-19, ang unang aatakihin ng mga scammers, yung mga malalapit sa buhay natin. Yung mga lagi natin nakakausap, yun yung inaatake kagad ng mga scammers. So, sa loob ng isang oras, ang paghinga natin 22,000 times. Humihinga tayo ng 22,000 times. Last year, na-detect na cyber attack sa buong mundo is 39 million. So, ibig sabihin, isang araw, 107,000 times. At sa isang oras, sa bawat paghinga natin, merong 5 cyber attack na nangyayari sa buong mundo. At ang Pilipinas ang second most attacked country sa buong mundo. So ang mga may mga suggestion ang Scam Watch Pilipinas gaya ng increase the penalties gaya nga ng sabi ni Senator Gatchalian. Kasi pag worth it yung penalty, ang mga gagawin ng mga scammer tuloy-tuloy ang paggawa nila. Pangalawa, we stand with the CICC Executive Director Alexander Ramos when he said, "Do not compromise your identity by allowing cyber criminals to use you as a digital money mule." Kasi ang ginagawa, parang yung mga SIM cards na nangyari yung nakuha dun sa Pasay na raid, 26 to 28,000. Marami doon naka-register using legal means. Kasi ngayon po, walang limit kung ilan yung pwede mong i-register na SIM card. Basta nag-comply ka doon sa batas, nag-comply ka doon sa requirements. Kaya kailangan we need to work with the telco to improve fraud detection and prevention measures. Kasi nga walang specific limit. Siguro sa kanila na to dapat, meron tayong specific limit. We also urge the public to be vigilant and to never give out personal information. Lagi na natin doon pinaalala. Ang isang importante na sana mangyari, we urge the banks, we urge the e-wallet services and other financial institutions to provide dedicated human customer support for reporting scams and fraudulent activities. May nangyari po na isang OFW, tumawag siya kasi alam niya na scam siya. Nabawasan yung bangko niya, yung laman ng e-wallet niya. Sabi sa kanya, please wait. At nakinig siya sa elevator music ng 2 oras. At nakikita niya na babawasan yung pera niya. Umiiyak siya kasi nga pangpagamot ng nanay niya yun, nasa Saudi siya. So bakit walang tao dun? Bakit elevator music? So in addition to this point, we propose including digital literacy in cyber hygiene as a curriculum for elementary and high school students to protect the next generation against cybercrime. We must start nurturing the cybersecurity culture and mindset for the next generation. We also strongly recommend that the various sectors vulnerable to cyber fraud must undergo digital and financial literacy training. Kasama po dito ang OFW, mga teachers na laging tinatarget, at mga SMEs. So it's crucial to recognize that the fight against scams in the Philippines is not just a legislative or government issue. It's a community concern. Ang pag-atake po sa cybercrime ay shared responsibility. Gobyerno, private institutions, saka individual. Dapat turuan natin ang mga tao paano labanan ang cybercrime. Through joint efforts, we can aim for better laws and more informed and cautious public, making it increasingly difficult for scammers to operate. Pahirapan naman po natin ang mga scammers. As we advance in the digital age, our strategies to combat scam must evolve in tandem. Only through multi-layered cooperative efforts can we hope to stem the tide of these criminal activities and ensure a safer digital space for Filipinos. The need for immediate collective action could not be more urgent, as each delay only grants scammers more opportunities to victimize and undermine the security of the Filipinos.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Samaniego. Actually, we do agree with your statements. And it's very important for us to realize the experiences, like for example, of this OFW na nakikita niya, pababa ng pababa, walang kausap. So yun na naman, walang kausap. I think the telcos can afford to have the human support available, especially because I think they're making quite enough from their business. But then, I have a question kasi nga, yung sinasabi natin, increase the penalty, increase the penalty. I think aside from increasing the penalty, we should actually be able to um, hold somebody liable, to penalize somebody. Katulad niyan, 27,000 SIMs yung nakuha dun sa Ravendell ba yon? Ravendell. Pero ngayon nakatago sa vault. Hindi ba natin pwedeng hanapin lahat yon? Sino mga may-ari ng mga SIM na yon? At kasuhan natin. O kaya imbestigahan, paano ba napunta dyan yung SIM mo? Kasi kung nasa vault lang yon, yung 27,000 na yon, nakaligtas yon. So can we do that? You think we can file cases at DOJ?
For the Office of the Cybercrime, pursuant to Section 12 Rules and Regulations implementing RA number 11934, the Office of the Cybercrime already issued subpoena, Madam Chair, to determine the status of the registration of the SIM cards which were seized during the implementation of the search warrant in Pasay.
Okay, subpoena addressed to?
PT is, Madam Chair,
Also sa
Public
kanila.
Telecommunications Entities.
Okay, have they responded? Have they given you a timeline?
They already acknowledged, Madam Chair,
Ayan
that
na
they are
naman,
willing to.
acknowledge. Can you give them a deadline that you need to be able to respond and give us the information within a week?
Madam Chair, we actually gave them 7 days, 7 working days to comply with the subpoena. For now, we've received an appeal from Smart because this particular PTE has garnered the most number of SIM cards found in Rivendell. So they asked for reconsideration for another 15 working days.
How about Globe?
They also acknowledged the.
Pero wala pa rin.
We're still within the 7 working day period.
Within 7
Yes,
days.
ma'am.
Okay, so committee secretary, take note of this. So give us the deadline of when they're supposed to submit. Because it doesn't matter even if sabihin na habang buhay kang ikukulong, kung hindi naman na-i-implement kasi nga hindi hinuhuli, I'm telling you, even if the penalty is just 100,000, especially for people who are in dire need to sell their information, 100,000 will scare them. So kung mapakita yan, mabalandra yan sa TV na ito yung mga kasama dito sa 27,000 na nagbenta ng kanilang impormasyon, ganito ang mangyayari sa inyo, medyo mas mapipigilan yung iba. Sampulan natin ito. I think this can be more than all the text reminders that you're sending. In the news, if they see that somebody is actually convicted because they sold their information, that will be an effective deterrent. Maybe not completely, but somehow it will help. Okay? We'll work with you, ma'am. Please help us, Attorney Ibay, Cruz, and Tubayan, ha? Para lang, kasi kawawa rin naman kayo eh. Kayo din narsisisi, pero may mga nananamantala rin na iba. If you're okay with my colleagues, you have any more questions? So that what we can do is a working technical group. And the next time, we'll ask you to present. Diba, Ms. Blanca Lopez, ano na yung napagkayari, hindi naman napagkayarian, napagkasunduan ninyo. Any more?
Just one follow-up question lang. I heard earlier kay Attorney Lotok that some of the registered the registered SIM cards that are being sold in Facebook are being bought by POGOs. I heard you made that statement.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ano ang basis ng statement na yan?
Well, actually, Your Honor, yung POGO operation, based on our data, nag-engage na rin, nag-shift din yung kanilang modus operandi, like they're engaging in investment scam, in the guise of POGO operation. They're engaging, some of them love scam, crypto scam, and all forms of scam, Your Honor. Ginagamit nila itong mga SIM card to preserve the anonymity, to avoid detection from law enforcement, Your Honor.
Based on your investigation, earlier I heard you that you mentioned that you have managed to apprehend those sellers. Do you have any information that those sellers are indeed selling to POGO operators, or do you have also information that those that you managed to retrieve, the SIM cards that you managed to retrieve, the 28,000, are connected to SIM cards that being sold over the internet?
Na, the 28,000, Your Honor, is still on process. Bine-verify po namin kung ano yung connections nila, yung links nila. But in so far as from March na operation ng NBI to June, we have, I think, 19, we were able to conduct 19 entrapment operations. And upon interrogation, we were able to elicit information na binibenta nga nila ng mga SIM cards sa isang taga-POGO, and then binibili ito by bulk. Maramihan, 5,000, 10,000. And then ito po yung ginagamit nila sa kanilang operation.
Why is it 5,000, 10,000? Is that because they have 5,000, 10,000 operators? Ganun ba yun? It's a 1:1 operation?
No, Your Honor. Actually, again, pag una,
I'm just trying to understand this type of operation.
yes, Your Honor. Actually, meron silang tinatawag nating blaster software. Pag nag-text blast sila, let's say ang target nila is 10,000 na targets. Definitely 5 to 10% mo fall into their scheme. So malaki din yung number na yon. At the same time, may modus din sila na pag medyo burned na yung SIM card na ginagamit, dinidiscard na nila, ginagamit ulit yung iba.
Yung mga nahuli, kasi mayroong mga nahuling 1,000, 2,000 human traffic victims. How do they conduct their scamming activities? Just to
I
put
think
on record and also out of
DOOC can answer that, Your Honor,
just to
based on the record.
enlighten this representation. How do they use prepaid? Ang punto ko, do they use prepaid SIM cards to call? What is the modus of these human traffic victims?
Your Honor, for purposes of narrating what transpired in the Rivendell operation, the Department of Justice, in coordination with PAOK and the NBI and the PNP, as well as the CICC, were able to conduct interviews on the employees, and they were asked what are their modus operandi as to the SIM cards that were found on site. So basically, what they were doing were to use to register in various messaging platforms or yung over-the-top service or over-the-top providers, if I'm not mistaken, yung sinabi ni Attorney Ibay kanina, like Viber, WhatsApp, and Telegram. And then they look for prospective clients to invest in cryptocurrency scams. So basically po, magre-register sila doon sa mga text messaging apps na yon, and then they will look for possible clients wherein they will gain the trust of the client and promise big returns of money by allegedly investing into a cryptocurrency business.
Can I butt in lang just 1 second? They are not using the telcos anymore because if they apply or register doon sa mga over-the-top apps na yan, mag-Wi-Fi na lang sila.
Yes, but before they can actually register, they need to have a cell phone number. Yes. So that's how they do it.
So the SIM cards being sold over the internet illegally is connected to the human trafficking activities being perpetuated by the POGO operators. They're connected based on your investigation and interviews of the victims.
Not really human trafficking, Your Honor, because in Rivendell, there was really no finding of human trafficking. It's just more of cybercrime and tech
I mean
scams.
the other one, no, in Pasay.
In Las Piñas.
In Las Piñas, oo.
Yes.
Yeah. I would assume it's the same because 80,000 naman yung SIM cards na nakuha doon eh. No? And I think the operation is more or less the same.
Yes,
But
but
I'm trying to establish the connection of those SIM cards being sold and being sold over the internet, bought by POGOs, and the human trafficking activities that we are seeing. I'm trying to establish that connection, no? Just to iron out the crime being perpetuated by those SIM cards being sold over the internet. No? That's the tool now that's being used. So that's the connection that I'm trying to make.
Before we adjourn this hearing, actually suspend. Kasi hindi pa tayo, ano. Maybe we can hear, as courtesy also to Mr. Liboro from the NPC, former NPC Commissioner. Sir.
Thank you for this opportunity, Madam Chair, honorable senators. I prepared a statement, but let me just lift some lines from it in the interest of time. Well, tech scams is the new pandemic. And to effectively address this, a multifaceted approach involving collaboration among government regulatory bodies, mobile network operators, and law enforcement agencies, and sustained public awareness campaigns is essential. At this stage, it's really about balancing now the benefits of privacy and security versus the risks of exclusion. And government should continue working in tandem with our telecom companies to enhance a stringent registration, including post-validation processes to prevent large-scale illegal registration and unauthorized use of SIMs. Post-validation takes place after a subscriber's information has been submitted for SIM registration. This process is designed to verify and authenticate the provided information to ensure its accuracy and legitimacy. Regular audits and compliance checks on SIM card retailers can also help identify and rectify possible vulnerabilities in the registration system that scammers may exploit. Additionally, telcos should continue boosting its real-time monitoring systems to detect unusual SIM card activation patterns that may indicate fraudulent activity. By utilizing advanced algorithms and artificial intelligence, they can identify and immediately block suspicious SMS patterns such as unusual links or unauthorized sender IDs. Collaboration among telecom operators, regulators, and law enforcement agencies is pivotal. Swift communication channels should be established to report and investigate instances of unauthorized SIM card activation and SMS scams. Joint efforts can lead to quicker identification, apprehension, and prosecution of scammers, deterring potential offenders. Public awareness campaigns play a crucial role in empowering individuals to protect themselves. Government, telcos, and consumer advocacy groups like Scam Watch Pilipinas should sustain educational initiatives that inform citizens to safeguard their data, the risks of involvement in frauds and scams, the importance of adhering to the SIM registration law, and the range of penalties imposed on those who violate the law. Subscribers must be educated about the various types of SMS scams, including phishing, smishing, and fraudulent messages. By being aware of common tactics employed by scammers, individuals can develop a discerning mindset and be cautious when receiving unsolicited messages, even from seemingly legitimate sources. Subscribers must also be educated on how to report suspected scams. Simple guidelines on recognizing suspicious messages and reporting them can help individuals take proactive steps to safeguard their information. Preventing the proliferation of SMS scams by those bypassing the SIM card registration law necessitates a holistic approach that combines enforcing regulatory frameworks, harnessing technological advancements, law enforcement collaboration, and public education. By implementing these strategies, we can create an environment where SMS scams will find it increasingly difficult to thrive, safeguarding the privacy, security, and trust of individuals in the digital age. Thank you, Madam Chair, for this opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Liboro. You've raised a very important suggestion, which is post-validation of the ones that register. Is it possible to do that? The telcos, may I ask you?
Madam Chairperson, yes, that's precisely what the next step will be, together with the NTC. There will be a technical working group convened, I think, that's on tomorrow, I think. Thursday. So together with the government and the various stakeholders as well as the telcos, we will work together for post-validation, Madam Chairperson. Thank you.
Thank you. And then maybe also when you meet for the technical working group, yung actual registration with the ID picture and the actual person, just to be a little bit more stringent about it. We'll just amend the IRR. Bago mag-budget ha, kasi kung hindi niya magagawa yan, medyo mahihirapan yung Sir, Secretary Naga.
Yes, ma'am. I just want to report to the honorable body, ma'am, that the NPC as early as December or January of 2023 already conducted compliance checks to the three telcos in regards to the SIM Registration Act, ma'am. And the NPC immediately ordered telcos to implement live selfie verification as early as January of 2023, instead of including various permissions that may access data subjects' personal data, like access to their galleries for photo submission. Because we saw that coming, that later on there will be registrants who are not actually the one they're submitting, and to cross-check the live selfie verification as to the government issued ID submitted. However, ma'am, as to date, Smart and Dito complied with the commission's order. However, Globe has yet to comply, so we issued them a warning letter, ma'am.
I hope you'll be part of this technical working group, just so you can compare notes about the compliance. And also maybe invite Attorney Lotok. Will he join? Yes.
Ma'am, they are invited also with the DOJ and PNP ACG.
Okay. Well, thank you so. Okay na ba? Because we have to go for our session. So thank you very much for your presence here today, and hopefully we can find a solution and make our law more effective and adaptable to the quick changing technology. So this hearing is currently suspended. Okay, hindi pa adjourned. Thank you, everyone.